7 degrees, 28 minutes after the hour. I just got to show off this new shirt, EC Apparel. A friend of mine named Grant Vaughn, who does all my shirts and done some banners. He told me he heard this guy from LA talking about he liked to get a shirt. So he called me the other day and said, man, I got some shirts for you. I said, what you mean got some shirts for you? Man, make sure you send that guy LA a shirt. So these are the shirts right here. I don't know if you can see it. Got the logo right here and on the front. And he put WSAN radio. Let me get my right here in the mic. So he did all that. So thank you, EC Apparel, for dropping off some shirts to WSN Radio. Truly do appreciate it. And I will wear it with style and with fashion and all that type of good stuff. But just want to give him a shout out because he's been doing this work for a long time, and just want to give him a shout out for the things that he's doing. I've been with him since 2000. I think we said 16. I've been with him that long, and he's been doing my shirts when it was live Lounge 59. Couldn't remember the first name. We switched it over to WSN Radio. But anyway, that's enough for me right there. That's plenty enough for me. So, oh, I forgot to do one thing because I just heard an echo and I know what I did wrong or what I didn't do right. Is loving you is wrong. I don't want to do right. Right. That sounds much better. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Oh, well, we talked off camera and we said we almost made it a week.
So, you see me in my my sweatshirt, my military fatigues. Unfortunately, we didn't make it a whole week without another mass shooting. So I guess we got to start off reporting that, talking about, that situation. There's some things I want to point out about this mass shooting in Florida that's a little bit different, right? A little bit different. It kind of talks about some things we talked about previously on other shows, but right now, currently, I guess I'm looking at AOL.com and looking at there's a manhunt right now for a second suspect wanted in connection to that mass shooting. It left 9 victims, including 4 children on Memorial Day. So as a veteran, I'm especially disgusted, that we're dealing with that on Memorial Day, but any day it's disgusting. But I think there was even a 1-year-old,
Yes.
a 1-year-old that was shot and a 17-year-old. So perfect example of just some, ignorant, reckless shooters. And this isn't happening just in Florida. It happens, all over the country where people just pulling triggers, not paying attention, don't care where the bullets are going, hitting a 1-year-old child. Obviously, that was not the intended target, or at least I hope that wasn't the intended target. You never know nowadays. But I think it's interesting with this one because not only did this happen in Florida and in discussing on a holiday, but I think just as equally as important is you had to look at Ron DeSantis, his response, which was, we're still waiting for it. This doesn't fit the narrative, right? So you have an active shooter situation on a holiday and you got a governor that didn't even respond to the situation. So I think that it perfectly exemplifies the ignorance of if you're supporting it, all those folks in Florida that are listening, this is who you got elected as your governor. He's obviously not concerned about what is most important, which we define on this show as the most important resource is protecting our kids.
Right.
If you're not protecting our kids, you are worthless as a politician. There's nothing more important than protecting our kids. Of course, the debt ceiling all of a sudden got solved out there. Everybody's taking credit for it, and it's a big deal. But, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit jaded, but that's your job. Nobody applauds you going to work every day and making the ridiculous amount of money you're making as a politician. And we're celebrating that the debt ceiling was extended for 2 years. I guess that's so McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, is claiming credit. Biden is claiming credit. Okay, yeah, you did your job. Okay. Now, what about getting on to the work that we really need done, like protecting these kids, addressing these mass shootings, addressing some of the other social issues that we need to focus on, not just giving you a good job for doing your job. Okay, that's expected. That's the minimum. And in fact, I think you have to look at it as it's really not a good job. We never should have had to go this far for you to hit the debt, to get that way.
Right.
That should have been done within a week, but we got to do this back and forth, pretend like you've really done something miraculous, while we're still struggling with what's most important, getting these guns off the street and changing the culture, increasing the laws, putting some teeth on red flag laws. And that's why one of the reasons I love this show is because we are keeping the feet to the fire and reminding folks what should be most important, not the spin. You watch TV and you literally can get dizzy from the spin.
Yeah.
From the news. Like, hey, man, this is what I came to hear about, but you're talking about all this other extraneous stuff that, really doesn't affect me and my bottom line and my safety and my security. And that's what we got to get to. So if you're not doing that, if you're not protecting, if you're not pushing legislation to protect these kids, then you really don't have a purpose in politics.
Exactly.
You need to get set down or kicked out of office until the American public can feel safe walking amongst the countryside on a holiday, or going to the beach, or going to the store, or going to church, or going anywhere, in our country. So I'm off my soapbox this morning off that.
Well, you was talking about the laws and all that stuff. We got new laws taking effect on September 23rd. And what is so funny, it's not funny. If you're an animal lover, you're probably gonna like this. They concentrated more on giving more penalties for people who kill animals. They passed all that. They also passed the gender deal. So if you're LBG, what is, I gotta read that right. Make sure I gotta
LGBTQ.
make sure I read it right. They want to stop any medical use for anything with them. So they took their time to pass all this garbage, but yet they can't address the real issue here in Texas.
Yeah, I don't know. We've got some interesting things going on in our political system that have to be addressed. We've got Clarence Thomas, that people are now pushing for him to be impeached, right?
Yeah.
And obviously there's some things that have to be addressed, not just with Clarence Thomas, but with the other justices that are getting this extravagant gifts and questionable amounts of money given to them, and they're supposed to be impartial with justice. But other than watching a real life version of the movie Get Out with Clarence Thomas, it's really something really disheartening and disgusting to me. Just watching how our political system is being really made a mockery of, and even our judicial and political system. People pay ultimate prices. We just had Memorial Day. Do you think people raised their right hand and lost their lives for the political system that we have now?
Yeah.
And it's really an insult, And again, I'm calling on veterans that that took the vow to defend against enemies, foreign and domestic. I challenge you to consider looking at the enemies to our countryside, which are these politicians that are up here doing absolutely nothing or very little and acting like they're doing a lot, right? But we got to first look at ourselves, look at the mindset that we've allowed ourselves to get into, which is the greed, fear, and phobia. We talk about that every show because I really think when you look at it, and I separate fear and phobia because there's a natural fear of things out there. There's a natural fear of criminals. There's a natural fear of someone breaking into your house. There's a natural fear of bad things that can happen. But phobias can be induced, right? They can be pushed on you through media and projecting of villains across the border, which we talked about. The real villain, unfortunately, in a lot of homes is that kid that's being unmonitored, that's watching these video games all day, playing these video games all day, committing all these crimes. And then you wonder why, when they become an adult, they go get an AR and act out what they play out hundreds, if not thousands of times a week, So not surprised, right? But we've got to kind of get back to, I think, that communal connection, getting to know your neighbors, getting to know the kids, getting to know each other. And then also possibly, I don't know, actually caring about each other, right? But we've kind of gotten away from that. And I think that's a big part of why we see the breakdowns that we do. A lot of these kids are acting out. Like those of us that are parents, We know we've had, children that act out, and they kind of want that parent to kind of say, okay, this is the boundary. I'm going to discipline you, and let you know that you can't go past this line right here, right? And if you do, there's going to be a consequence. Well, now the line is, going to get an AR, and acting out because they're not getting the attention. They're not getting the understand the social skills and how to deal with situations. Bullies. Now, instead of dealing with a bully, they come in and going to grab a gun and they want to shoot up the school. They want to shoot up the community. You go to work, don't get the promotion you want. You get laid off, you get fired. Instead of going, okay, I need to make some changes. I need to maybe go back to school, get some more education. I need to do something different. They want to attack their boss or shoot up the place, shoot innocent people that trying to just do their day-to-day job. You know what I'm saying? So we've got to get to the place where we start teaching life skills and social skills back in the elementary, middle school, high school level, teaching how to function, how to express your anger in a positive, constructive way, how to communicate. Unfortunately, we allow these kids to stay on these games, and they're not utilizing the social skills that they need to communicate face to face. FaceTime does not mean on the iPhone. FaceTime is FaceTime between two human beings, not through an electronic device. Right. And we got to get back to that, learning how to communicate, learning how to teach our kids. And, that's what we got to get back to, community, communication, understanding each other, and not seeing everybody as a us, them, but as a we. And I think, that would kind of help us along, in terms of getting some traction here, because it's going to take more than just a politician. It's going to take a cultural change. It's going to take an understanding. Those of you that have been paying attention, this is about my last week. We've got another week left, and then we'll be heading over to Japan. I can't wait to launch. We're going to be launching the YouTube channel. We're going to be putting that together today. We start documenting things on the Impact channel that we're going to put out here on just the different differences in culture, differences in climate, in terms of not the temperature, but just how people interact and why it's so different over there in another country. And how we can maybe incorporate and bring some of that back here. A lot of people don't know this, but back in the 70s, Japan actually came to the United States to study our educational system.
Yes, right.
Now, look at what they've done with it. Now, their educational system is leaps and bounds above ours, right? So we're going to take a look at how they do some things over there and see, how we can maybe learn from people that learn from us and actually did something with it and build on that, right? And look at, what's going on. Got some good news. I got to brag on my daughter. I know you're gonna brag on your son. We are proud to have nerds in our family, right?
Yeah.
Nerds in a good way. We take that, that term nerd and look at it. You should be a nerd in middle school and high school, and in terms of academically excelling. So my baby's got straight A's. Teacher just said that she really doesn't belong in elementary level. I think she's trying to say she's saying that she was brilliant. We're going to possibly get her tested to see, where she's appropriately at. We can start taking some high school, college type classes. So be it. At 11, if you can do that, that's amazing. So we're going to a society, and not to say that you couldn't get a good quality education here, but let's look at the differences. Let's look at where the United States is ranked versus other countries in terms of education at the elementary and secondary environment. So we got to take a look at, culturally, what you're able to do, the socialization, because a big part of education is also socialization, right? You can have the smartest kid in the world, but if they can't function socially, how far are they going to go, right? So you got to look at how the community is socializing your kids, look at how educationally you're getting the resources to our kids. And unfortunately, kids of color seem to always be getting the short end of the stick because of the socioeconomic factors are going on. We just said this a couple shows ago that kids of color are almost twice likely to consider or follow through with suicide.
Yeah.
That's your mental health point right there. Talk to our kids, communicate with them, find out what's going on their social media sites, find out what's going on, with their social interactions or lack thereof. If your child is becoming introverted, You don't see them talking about friends or having a good time at school or having something exciting. We did this thing years ago called Table Talk, where we had kids sit down every night or as many nights as possible and have dinner and talk about their day, talk about things they're concerned about, talk about things they're excited about. And that'll give you kind of the temperature of how your child is doing. And you can then give you an opportunity to react. Now, if your child's being bullied, how do you address that, right? First thing, you don't just sit and hope that it gets better. You have to react. You got to investigate, be detective, find out what's going on, talk to the teachers, then move up the chain, talk to the administrators, then move up to the chain and be willing to talk to the school board if nothing is getting done and demand something to get done, right? It's one of those situations where if you're not happy with your child's educational environment, say something, join the PTA, have communications, and you don't have to just take what people say. You can fight, go to those board meetings, but you got to be involved, right? And I can tell you, and my wife would tell you, we're very involved in my child's educational process. We go to pretty much everything, things that maybe we weren't supposed to go to. We show up at. Why? Because we want them to know, hey, the Lees care about what the educational process of their daughter.
Yeah.
But that you will receive a different educational experience as an educator. I remember when I was in Marion County, Florida, I was teaching at North Marion Middle School. Shout out to them down there. It was really bad when I would see kids that weren't passing. And I remember the first time I had, a class and there was, quite a few kids that hadn't passed. And I was waiting. I had all the paperwork, all the things, ways that we could probably work with the kids. And I'd say, maybe, no, actually none of them, none of the parents showed up and their children were failing. And I couldn't understand that, I actually had one parent that was pushing for me to put their child into, to help fill out paperwork so they could become disabled. And this child was far from LD, learning disabled. We put her in an accelerated reader program. I structure her grade structure a little bit so that give her an opportunity to pick the book she wanted to read. I just expected her to go up each time she read. And by the time we got done with that school year, she was reading beyond her grade level. And you would think that the mom would say thank you, but she was upset because now I had just proved that her child wasn't LD. But that's the mentality sometimes that we have to fight against. It's called learned helplessness, and we have to man more. And, I consider myself a social justice advocate. I want kids to excel further than what their expectation is. And that's what we have to do. I had somebody that invested in me and said they expected greatness when I didn't see it in myself. Somebody saw it in me and invested in me. And that would be my grandfather, that said, you're going to college. I was like, man, I'm barely making it in high school. What you mean I'm going to college? Well, I got there, right? And when I got there, I knew, hey, I gotta get my act together, because if I want an opportunity, if I want income, if I want to be able to do some things for my future family, I'm gonna have to, not make excuses and make a way. And that's what we have to instill in our kids, that resiliency, that go-get-itness. Unfortunately, a lot of these kids now, they think they're gonna start with a six-figure job. It don't work like that. You know what I'm saying? If you're lucky enough to become a social influencer, I mean, that works for some. But then, the thing about that is, if your income is based on your social influence, what happens if that changes? Then you have what to fall back on, right? So teaching skills, we got so many things to focus on and work on, and projects that we can do with this show, and trying to highlight things and highlight things I think are very important in education. We got to get back to teaching kids some skills, something they can go out and do right after, school. And, we know, like with you, the name I gave you, I don't know if I want me to put it out there, but, Ron, man, I'm telling you, he fixed my air conditioner one time with a screwdriver. I'll just be perfectly honest. He came back with a screwdriver and my central air started working. That's an instinct. That's a skill. That's something he had to pick up. That's something that's one of your gifts. All of our kids are gifted in something. Education should be there to help cultivate where our kids are talented and give them the tools so they can go out there and make a living right from high school. Now, I'm encouraged by programs like I see in my hometown, in my home state of Michigan, where community college is paid for. If you graduate from, I believe the way the program works, if you graduate from a high school in Michigan or in Grand Rapids, I know of, that you can go on to the community college there and get a 2-year degree. But okay, but what should you be looking at? How about something that's going to pay you enough to live or to excel? So I don't know why there's not more people going into nursing. You know, if you're living below the poverty line or barely making it, why not go for something that can get you $60,000 to $100,000 a year with 2 years? That seems like it's a no-brainer to me. But we have to start instilling that to our kids. Look, I have kids that, you know, they don't know what to go to school for. They're trying to making it day to day, stabilize them so they can get through school, and then give them the opportunity to go on to college and get something to, you know, better themselves and then possibly give back to the community. It's a real simple concept.
Yeah, so I don't know if they still doing it. You mentioned nursing. You're giving bonuses for nursing. There's a lack of nurses out there, and they're giving them bonuses. You don't get one lump sum. You get a little bit. The longer you stay, you get more of it. And I haven't heard if they're still doing that or not.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Nursing is amazing. When my wife, Tiffany Lee, hopefully out there listening, out there somewhere, I can't tell this thing he's doing is supposed to be doing over here to my left. But when she got her nursing license, I've never seen it where I remember there were companies that were coming there willing to pay for her whole college experience, paying her to travel, paying for housing, paying for vehicles, and paying her an excellent salary. And that's where you start.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's bonuses. Back one of her best friends, my wife talked to her about being a nurse, and she was working through COVID and making probably about as much as the doctors were with the bonuses there. So to me, we just got to be smart about what is education? What are we trying to do? We're trying to not just, get kids educated, but also for them to have an income so they can take care of their families and live a good quality of life. And you can't do that with minimum wage. Let's just be real about it. If you live in paycheck to paycheck, it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. So we're going to talk about some other things down the line, some opportunities where people can maybe think outside the box. But if you're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome, some people call that the definition of insanity. I just call it stupid. But also, it's not stupid in the sense that I know people are sometimes just doing the best they can, but you can't do the same thing over and over again and expect to get something different. Some people are living in communities that are depressed, and oppressed, and they're not wanting you. There's gatekeepers. We're going to get into that. There's people that only let select people through to successful jobs. Well, when you're RN, it's going to be hard to stop you from getting a good paying job because you're in that much of demand. If you're trying to be a therapist, it's going to be hard for people to stop you getting high paying jobs because you're in that much of a demand. So how about you find out the demand, go to the occupational handbook and look at the demand of the career that you're looking at before you embark on your educational pursuits of higher learning, right? How many people do that? Because the college is going to take your money either way.
Yeah, you're right about that.
You can get nursing, or you can get basket weaving 101. Whatever you want to get, they're going to give it to you. So you have to do the research and talk to somebody like a counselor or somebody that knows about the economic and occupational outlook, and you can educate yourself to find out, okay, this is what I need to go into, right? And stop looking at the fool's gold. Like if I talk to one more child that wants to be a producer or wants to be a hip hop artist or whatever, and I don't know why in the world you want to be a hip hop artist now. They should issue you a vest and a bodyguard if you're thinking about being a rap artist, not a hip hop, because that's a difference. A rap artist. Look at what's happening to the rap artists now, right? Look, we got to talk about it. Look at the messages that are going out. What do you expect? Now we can do a whole segment on that. Like, why do you think so many rappers are getting killed or getting shot? Well, look at the environment. Look at the not just the environment, but how you come up. If you are bragging about how much money you got because you got a deal, and you have a crew that you run with, then automatically you've already got an enemy because that crew that you were talking about or whoever you going against, they maybe didn't get a deal. So now you automatically got an enemy in the community. And you got to go back to that same community to keep your so-called street cred or whatever the case may be. So then what happens? Right? Well, you see what happens. It's been happening. It's been happening over and over again. So, we got to figure out how to change the culture, just having fun. I mean, what happened to just having fun with music? What happened to just, seeing each other as brothers and sisters, or, we got to figure out how to get back to that communal communication and efforts to try to uplift. That's what we have to get back to. And it should be easy because half of us are related and don't even know it.
Yeah, that's true.
If you think back, look at where most of us came from and how we came up. We're not too far removed, but from each other. So I don't know. I'm off my soapbox with that too. We went a whole different direction, Ron.
But that's
So
all right.
what,
I want to go back when you was talking about you in school with your daughter and stuff. I remember my middle child. It was third grade. I decided to volunteer and help out. So I went there and they turned around, field trips. Okay, I was there. The lady came to me and said, "Thank you." I said, "For what?" She said, "You're the only male that we have to come to the school and volunteer." And they will give me all the challenge kids. I'm not going to use the word bad, but challenge. And one kid was just acting out, and we had a tough conversation in the bathroom. And when that was said and done and over with, I think we were going to one of these theme parks here. We went there and all that stuff, and there we did everything. I'm the only parent that brought quarters for them to feed the fish or dolphins, whatever. I did all that. So when the day was over, we went back. Until the very next day, the teacher called me to the office. I said, "Oh Lord, what did my son do this time? It's been one day. What did he do?" I go in there. She sit down and talk to me. You know that young man that was in there with you, that was with you in your group? I said, "Yeah." "How did you reach him?" I said, "I just talked to him. That's all." He changed. I said, "What do you do?" I said, "We had a long conversation. What he should be doing as a young man and things he should and should not be doing." That's all we talked about was that. So make a long story short, every time there was any type of field trip or anything, the teacher would call me and say, "Mr. Gore, we need you here to take care of the boys." I volunteered from third grade to sixth grade with my son going all the way up. I was there all the time doing things with them. And you're right. If you show that you care and that you're there for them, it's a completely different ball game. And so that one kid that turned around found out he did not have a father figure at the house. That's all he was lacking. So
huge difference, Ron. I mean,
yeah,
those of us that can get in to the schools and can have an impact with those kids, you'd be surprised at
yeah,
the impact you can have in a positive way with kids just seeing somebody like them. And you've got their attention. When I used to sub, I used to love going to those. It was a great economic resource for me because I would love going to those schools where they're running the teachers out of there. Because one thing, you're not going to run me out of no classroom.
yeah.
I'm gonna run that classroom. I was just fresh out of the military. I was on that. I wish you would, and the other thing is, it wasn't just that though. It was the fact that I wasn't just going. I don't think I ever wrote a child up when I was in there. I was like, no, I'm not going to write you up. I'm going to show up at your house. Well, you ain't going to show up at my house. And when they found out, oh yeah, Mr. Lee will show up at your house, it was a whole different thing.
Oh yeah.
Now I've gotten past that barrier, of, oh, you're just going to talk and you're not going to do anything. You're just going to send me out of class. Well, if a child isn't able to function at that level, you're doing him a break because he's embarrassed the fact that he's not functioning at that level. But I'm going to no, I'm gonna have you sit in that classroom because the last thing you need to do is be out of the classroom when we're trying to give you instruction on what you need to be successful out in society. So I look at it as if I can't give them that education, I was setting him up for or setting her up for failure. And they know that. But a lot of times our kids are complicated. If you don't understand the energy of our kids, it's just because they're pushing back, don't mean they're not interested. They just have given up because people have given up on them. So are you saying, no, I'm not going to give up on you. And are you going to sit here and get this education? You're here for a reason. I'm going to give you this education. And you
Yeah.
can do with it what you will. And then I'm going to try to show you what to do with it. That's what that GPS presentation is about. Letting kids know where they're at so they can get to where they're trying to go. And some of these kids, they actually think that they're successful. Our parents are setting some of our kids up for failure. If your child is failing in school, why do you have them in $100, $200 pair of tennis shoes? Why do you have them in designer clothes? Why do you have them in the best? Give them a cell phone and they failing out of school? Because life isn't like that. So you're setting them up for failure. They already think they're successful in their mind. And you can see examples of these guys out on the street thinking they're the man at the bus stop, talking on the cell phone. I don't know who they call it. I guess they're calling somebody else at another bus stop. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because usually now, and women, y'all know y'all wrong. Y'all tease with them, joke with them in high school. And then when y'all go off and do y'all think y'all laughing at him, and he was in school, he was cute, but now he's a bum. So I can't really, I'm gonna go for the nerdy. I'm gonna go for the nerdy guy. You know what I'm saying? Because he's the one with benefits, money, income, options, and traveling the world. So that's gotta put that plug in. But so that's what we got to do. We got to show, we got to flip it. I had this thing from Nerd to Boss that I do in the schools where I take a little kid that's being beat up and abused a little bit in school, talked about, hey, that's the one that, y'all going to be wishing y'all listen to or holler at back in school because he's the one that's going to have those options. He's going to have that income. He's going to have that ability that y'all going to need down the line. And some of those girls already know that, they already know that. So they may not say it, out in front of everybody else, but they are saying, hey, you know what? I think you're kind of cute. They're trying to let you know, they're trying to put their bid in because they know that, down the line, you're going to do something with your life. And they know these guys, they peaking in high school, or middle school or whatever the case may be. That's going to be the best time of their life. But that's not nothing to be happy about. I want everybody to succeed and excel. Athletics. And I sat down with, and oh man, where this is his card? I got it right here. I sat down with a gentleman, Willie Mitchell, a few weeks ago, who played for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Played in their first Super Bowl. And he said something very profound. He said, not everybody is going to get to play at that level. In fact, most people are not going to get to play at that level. And then after you play at that level, and he had a Super Bowl ring, phenomenal Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl ring, with the first one that they ever played in. What are you going to do after that? See? Because that's not guaranteed for long. And if you haven't invested well, that money goes away real quickly.
Oh, yes.
So education still, even after you get to the so-called promised land of the pros, if you're not invested well, if you don't have a good education to fall back on, you're right back to square one or worse than, because now you know what it's like to have that income, to have that ability, to have those options, and then have them pulled away from you. Now, we're going to see if maybe we get Willie Mitchell on here to talk about some things, or maybe, I know he's going to pay on the YouTube channel. We're going to talk about some things. And some people, there's a lot of, we have a lot of dreams, right?
Yeah.
Of our kids, and I want them to reach for their dreams, but always have something to fall back on. Always have something to say, you know what? I did this. I want to become a pro athlete. I want to become a rap artist. I want to become a producer. Those are all great things if you can pull it off. But what if it doesn't quite go the way you expect it to? Or what if it doesn't quite pan out that way? And I'm getting a message here, Ryan. I want to check your mic. I don't know if your mic's coming through. I don't know. Check your levels. I don't know. I'm getting a message.
But they say they can't hear me.
Yeah, they said I heard a message you couldn't hear you. I don't know. I can hear you fine, but I don't know if it's coming through not coming through correctly.
Let me check on something. I had the same issue yesterday, and I don't know why. Let me see something here. I'm cutting on my deal right here so I can hear myself. Nope. Boy, something just stopped. Everything just stopped all of a sudden. All
I'm
right.
seeing you on my other monitor over here. So we're giving our secrets out how much technology we got around us. I feel like I'm in there you go, breaking my technology right now. I feel like I'm in a spaceship sometime on the scene. We got so many screens and everything going on. So, hey, I'm waiting for people to start fact checking us one day. I'm seeing you on my other monitor over here. Oh yeah, yeah. Now I can hear you. Secrets out. Uh-oh. How much technology we got around us. All right.
So you can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. So I don't know what was going on before. Whatever you did, now it came through on that other monitor. So I don't know. We're gonna have to maybe replay this one or see how we need to address it.
But it's still coming through. Let me do one more thing.
Mhm. So this is live, y'all.
Yeah. Let me see. We ought to be there. They should hear me now. Yeah, I hear it now, so they should hear me now. All right. Thank you, listeners out there.
Yeah, that was my wife. Give her credit, man. She's
All
she's one of the might as well be one of the producers, man, because she she keeps us on track.
Yes,
Lets me know what's happening. So
I want to touch base with you. This is the last day of mental. Well, I got lost words right.
mental health awareness
Yeah,
month.
yeah, boy, that was lost. This is the last day of it, but we shouldn't look at it like a month long. This is 365 days a year. So
Yes, it is.
a lot of people will listen. It's okay, that's month over with. Let's go to the next one. That's some of the disconnect right there. Because we focus on the month of May for that, it should be focused every day of the week, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Yeah, it should be. And it needs to be, right? That's why I love getting on here. And one of the things I just focused on is having us look at our kids, and checking in with our kids, seeing what's going on. But also we have to check on ourselves too,
Yeah.
making sure that we are in a healthy place in our center. One of the things I'm going to start having us kind of look at is mindfulness and just checking on yourself, knowing when you're doing good, because when you're in crisis, it's too late it's never too late to get help, but you have to know when you're starting to decline. So, hey, I need to pull back. I need to do something different. I need to take some time to take care of myself so I can give to others. So this mental health thing is a complicated thing that requires you to be mindful of what you put into your psyche and what you're around. Being around, watching the news all day long, right? That is not a good thing, right? Like I said earlier, we could be sitting there watching the news, and you literally feel like your head is spinning because they spin things so much that you start feeling like, man, what I wanted to hear about this. I'm hearing about all this other extraneous things that I don't really, honestly, I don't care about it. But there are other crucial things that we need to know about that we're not getting. And plus, always hearing all the negativity, right? You got to be careful. You got to take some time away from the negativity and make sure you're focusing on some positive things. Being around some people that lift you up, that don't tear you down, right? These are all important things. Making sure you're not a slave to this device that we all have, right? And they have little features on here saying that, hey, this is how much. You'll be surprised at how much time that you're giving to this phone that you could be giving to your family.
Yeah.
Right. And they have these little things, these rabbit holes, and we've all done it. We start looking at something, and then they show another thing that you're interested in, another thing, and all of a sudden you look up, you've been 2 or 3 hours looking at one thing, you forgot what you originally were looking at because you keep going through these things, right?
Right.
But meanwhile, your child is growing up and you're missing key time. Your relationships are starting to decline because you're spending more time on, electronic devices. So, take some time each day and put those electronic devices up. With me being here in the States, I'm on call a lot of times, so I have to check my phone periodically to know if there's a crisis call that I need to be on the next day or whatever the case may be. But there's times that if I'm not, and I used to tell people with some of the contracts I'm working with the military and otherwise, hey, don't call me after 6 o'clock. That's my family time. And
So,
if you do, that's fine, but you're going to voicemail. I'm going to I use my voicemail.
yeah.
You know,
What I do when you said that, what I do some evenings, I'll take my phone and put it in the office and sit in the living room and spend time with my wife watching TV and just talking. I just put the phone to the side, and because you're right, it's glued on your ear. But if I don't need it, I will put it up.
that's right.
Matter of fact, on the weekends, I have it on the charger in the bedroom because my alarm goes off. On the weekends, I leave it in the office. I don't want to. I don't want to hear it at all.
That's it. And I think that we have to. There's a little test that I give people. See if you can sit still. Cut your phone off. Cut your TV off. Cut everything off, and see how long you can just sit and not do anything. Just be.
Hey, my problem is if I sit too long, I'll go to sleep.
Well, that's your body. That's your body telling you something, Ron.
Yeah, I'll sit down here. I told my wife, if I'm quiet for a period of time, just sitting there, chances are I fell asleep.
Right. So that tells you what? That you need to get some more rest.
Yeah.
That you're doing too much. Your body's going to tell you what you need if you listen. The problem is when you don't listen, because the body will eventually make you listen. Right. So being able to sit, we all should be able to do that. A lot of the kids, and mine included, I have to pull those video games. I got to pull that Nintendo Switch. I got to pull that stuff away. And because I get distracted sometimes, my wife's working or whatever, and now that she's out of school, we don't always monitor the time as close as we should. And then we have to be mindful. Okay, we need to set up a schedule. And this is one of the things we've been talking about. We're going to have to implement that, a schedule of when she can be on and when she can be off the game, right? Because kids, have to now always be stimulated. That's not good. We used to have to sit. Remember that? Just go sit down somewhere.
Yeah. Oh boy, that sounds like parents back. Grandma, on them, go sit your butt down somewhere.
They just go sit down somewhere. They didn't tell you to do nothing. They didn't tell you to go watch TV. They didn't tell you to go play the game. They said go sit down somewhere.
Yeah.
And you better do it. And when you sit down, you'd be like, dang, well, what can I do? I'm gonna have to pick up a book.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to, and you can't call your friend because she was on the phone. You better not pick up that phone with your parents on the phone, or you're gonna have then you might not be able to sit down after you pick up that phone. So we've kind of gotten to this place where we have to always be stimulated with stuff and always have to see stuff. And some of the stuff that we're seeing, I think is lending to our mental illness. We talked about this, I think a show or two ago. We talked about what happened when social media hit the scene. The suicide rate shot way up.
Yeah.
That's the connection, to this fake world that we put so much emphasis on. Now kids are growing up thinking that their personality and their worth is based on the likes that they get on a particular topic, which causes them to act out a certain way so they can get more attention. What happens when kids, how do kids act out to get more attention? Usually doing some things they shouldn't be doing or saying some things they shouldn't be saying. Right. So that's the issue. That's the problem with this electronic world that we have become so dependent on. Yes, it's good for letting us know what's going on to a certain extent, but then the spin is so deep. Is it really letting us know what's going on? Is it giving a complete picture? And I dare say it's not.
Just about speaking about that, I know you probably heard about it. Little baby crying on the plane. Guy got upset, started yelling and cussing. They told him to be quiet. Why should I be quiet? Kid making more noise than I am. Well, the bottom line is he got arrested when he got off the plane. But that's where this culture is now, that automatically nobody have no sympathy. It's just like, okay, the baby's crying. She's trying to calm the baby down. And you got to look back time when you were a dad and your firstborn was born, and you want to know, is this guy going to ever stop crying? Then you have some babies that's not really crying babies, as we said. But
Mhm.
that one instant right there, he was dead wrong for cussing. Well, he was right and wrong. Yes, he was irritated because he's on a plane and the kid kept on crying, but he was wrong when he was louder than the kids and cussing everybody out.
Yeah, yeah. In terms of society, again, that kind of goes back to that community value thing we're talking about.
Yeah.
If you can see that child as a part of the community that you're a part of, then you can maybe become a little more tolerant because babies are gonna cry. I know some adults that are about ready to cry when they get on the plane because they're scared of flying. I know I was about to have a fit down there at Dallas airport when some coyote or something was running across the tarmac and we sat out there. I don't know how long waiting for this plane to take off. I was getting upset. But again, we just have to realize that delays are going to happen, things are going to happen in life, but we don't have the social skills a lot of times now, and there's frustration. We're seeing everybody as a us them instead of a we, and we gotta kind of get back to that. And I'm not quite sure how we can do that, other than we just
Yeah.
have to decide as a community to be connected, to care about your neighbor's child. And the word says it best: love thy neighbor as thyself. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't say the neighbor that looks like you, the neighbor that thinks like you. It just says love your neighbor as thyself. I may not agree with everything that you do or how you are, or whatever, but we're sharing space. We're sharing community. And I thought that's what COVID would maybe teach some people. It didn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, rich or poor, COVID was coming for you.
That's when the entitled people came out when COVID hit. I hate to say, but they thought they were the first in line, first for everything. Something tragic like that happens with COVID. Everybody thought they was in front of the line. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. I
I,
saw some people that were daring people to say something if they had a mask. And it's like, and then, all the people that started, saying, I'm not going to wear a mask, I'm not getting vaccinated, even though it was more likely that you would transmit the disease, the virus, if you, weren't vaccinated and all that. It was almost like, and then when those people started dying at higher rates, and people started going, well, hey, I need to, I think it was because of the individual protection to say, hey, I don't want my philosophy is causing too many people like me to die, so I have to do something different, you
right.
know. But why does it have to be like that? Why are we so conditioned to think us first and then not everybody? It's an interesting mindset that we allow ourselves to get locked into here, and I don't think it's a healthy one. I don't think it's a successful mindset for us to be in, to be concerned with us first and everybody else last. In some respects, yeah, you have to take care of yourself, but why can't you take care of yourself but also contribute to the whole at the same time?
Yeah. You ready for a
That's the
question?
mindset I think we have to get to.
You ready for a question?
I don't know, man, how much time we got, but
Okay.
yeah, let's go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, golly, time went by fast.
Uh,
Somebody's asking, what are the four types of mental health?
the 4 types of mental health.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna have to think about that one. The 4 types of mental health.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see what we can go and find out here. Let's see if I can see what we got here.
And that came from Virginia here in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay. All right, the 4 types of mental health. So that would be, I think, what they're referring to, because they've got the 10 different types of, the 4 types of health. This is 4 types of health, which is physical, emotional, spiritual, and social. There's 4 types of wellness. So when you say 4 types of mental health, I need a little bit more uh, um, than that. But let me see. Let me see what we got here.
I'm gonna look it up too myself because I'm curious.
Because there's a lot of mental illness, right?
I see one right here that says mood disorder, such as depression or bipolar, anxiety, personality disorder.
Well, here's what I think they're getting at. The 4 types of mental health, from what I'm seeing, which this is from mentalhealthtoday.com, that there are 4 types of mental health, which include psychiatric, psychological, emotional, and social. So those are generally the 4 categories. So I think it was over analyzing the question, but no, those are generally the 4 types of mental health. So psychiatric, psychological, emotional, and social. And then you got to keep in mind, according to the site, and I think it's valid, it is valid. Each type has its own symptoms and treatment options. So psychiatric disorders are the most serious type of mental illness, and usually require medication or hospitalization. Those folks are usually psychiatrists. That if you have somebody that can prescribe medication, that's typically a psychiatrist, which is actually a form of doctor or physician. Psychological disorders can be mild or severe and often respond well to therapy. So that's my camp, right? Where I'm a therapist. Those are the areas that I operate in. Emotional disorders can range from mild to debilitating and may require medication to manage. Social disorders are the least serious type of mental illness, but can negatively impact a person's life if it's left untreated. Treatment for all 4 types of mental health should be tailored, and this is key, to the individual's needs. So one treatment option may not work for one as good as it will work for another. There's a lot of different treatment options, client-centered, rational motive behavioral therapy, the list goes on and on. Mindfulness, there's a lot of different treatment, EMDR. There's a lot of different treatment options, but it depends on. That's why it's important to have a mental health professional diagnose and then come up with a treatment option, treatment plan, and also be able to adjust it based on the outcomes that you're seeing. Right, just like with a psychiatrist, when you get medication, sometimes it takes time to adjust the load, meaning that like the medication level amount that you're receiving. Sometimes it's too low, sometimes it's too high. So it depends on the effects, and sometimes that medication might have an adverse effect with your body chemistry, right? So it can be complicated. That's why you need to have a licensed professional kind of help with that process and help with it. But that's a very good question. Hopefully I've answered it in a quick amount of time, so we're not going too far over. You never know what you get, man, with you. That's why I got to keep all this.
Come on, man.
All right, but that's a good thing, though. So thank you for the question.
Yeah.
Everybody can go to mentalhealthtoday.com and take a look at that. That's a very good question. I think it's good to kind of break those categories up. And also what I like about those categories is they're broken up into the levels of what care. So, pop quiz, what do you think schizophrenia is? Is that, what level do you think that would be? That would be obviously at the psychiatric level. So I don't treat people that have the schizophrenic disorder because it requires medication. Now, after they're on medication, right? And we want to talk about some life skills, some things of that nature, but they need to be seeing a psychiatrist because there's different hallucinations and things that happen that are beyond that, they're out of scope for me, right? So, and I've had to, once I noticed some signs of folks that were schizophrenic, I had to have the schizophrenic disorder. I had to tell them this is out of scope. You need a higher level of care.
Right.
Right. So, and noticing those signs, knowing what the signs of mental illness are, and then going to get an evaluation so you know where you're at, so that you can have the proper level of treatment is key. It's very important.
Yeah, yeah, that was a good question. I never came up with that. But up under all those, the ones that you named off, it's like I don't know if I'm saying it right. A lot of things fall up under that one category. So it'd be only thing I could like subfolders up under it. Okay, what's the treatment? Doing this, doing that. So it's like a chain of command that you look at, if I'm saying it right.
Mhm. Well, repeat that last part. What are you wondering if you're saying right?
Well, you say psychiatrist. Okay, what falls upon a psychiatrist? The medication, the treatment, going in talking to them, all that falls upon that one spectrum right there, psychiatrist. Then the next level, which would be you, falls upon there. So I just answered my own question, because you turn around and you give them I want to use the word homework, but you tell them what you need to do and stuff. So
Well, I mean, that's without getting too much into the weeds. When you tell people, that's more of a directive um, uh, strategy, and at times you can be a little bit more directive than others. But generally, you want people to. You can start off maybe a little more directive, but you want to move back. It's to give them the tool. My philosophy is I want to give you the tools to be able to work on yourself. I try to work myself out of a job. When I work with clients, I don't want them to continue. We shouldn't be dealing with the same problem in the same way for an extended period of time, right? We want to try to give you the tools, have you recognize what's going on. I think of therapy, psychotherapy, as like being a mirror. I'm going to show you the mirror, show you what you look like and what you need to address, and help you, give you the tools to deal with that particular issue. And then work my way out of a job so that you can recognize when you're that way again, and then work on those tools. And sometimes you have to come back and we have to readjust and help you to, maybe give you some additional tools to work with that particular issue. But if that doesn't work, then maybe it's something deeper that we're going to have to bump you up to go seeing a psychiatrist, right?
yeah,
Depending on what it is, right? There's like, we look at anxiety. Some anxiety we can treat at the therapist level, right? With cognitive behavioral techniques, rethinking, reframing, changing lifestyle. But there's some anxiety that requires medication, and panic attacks. People that have acute panic attacks, they may require medication. I'm going to have to refer you to a physician or a psychiatrist if you need, medication, because I don't prescribe medication. I prescribe, homework and treatment options and behavioral techniques. And, there's a lot of tools that I prescribe, but medication is not one of them, because I'm not licensed to prescribe medication.
right.
And now are some therapists to go through some additional trainings down here in this area, in Texas, they can prescribe some meds. Me personally, I don't want to get into that, because that's, there's a liability issue. There's a lot of additional things, and I have enough on my plate right now to take on, to not to take on that. So
Right.
I don't really want to get into that's just not what I want to get into. But for other folks, if that's, and I know that that's needed. There are psychiatrists are very, very needed, but psychologists are needed, therapists are needed, and each level needs to be properly adjusted. And some issues are just behavioral, don't need a psychiatrist, right? When your kids are going through something, and sometimes it's not even that we're needed. Maybe like it was in school, it could be a classroom management issue. So a lot of times what I find out when I go in and evaluate a situation is that you just need to move this child to the front of the classroom and away from his buddies.
Yeah.
And like we say all the time, if me, you, and Glenn were in class together, we probably wouldn't have graduated. We had been acting a fool in there. So
And
so we it's good that we met later on in life, or we'd have been up to some foolishness, But that's it. So there's a lot of different issues out here. Those are the 4 levels that hopefully we answered that question. So shout out to all the listeners. Keep the questions coming. Ron, I'm gonna get you, man. You're gonna have me answer the question at the last minute. But hey, we still on time. It's 8:28.
well, that's what I do. I have to do that, but actually it doesn't come to me till later on in the show. But
Right.
I remember I had this question from last week that was sitting in there, and I
Right.
had to make sure that I get that across, because because
Mhm.
she even called me. I know this young lady. We worked together for like 10 years. So I know her and she's a faithful listener, but she just want to know what that was. And I said, okay, I'll put it out there and see what he says, but just wait till later on in the show because I'm good for asking questions at the 49th hour.
Right. And I'm trying to keep it the Impact Hour so we don't have to change the name to the Impact Show. Uh,
Yeah.
but so be it. So
All
be
right.
it.
All right, my man.
All right.
I'll be seeing you later on today.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I'll see you then. We'll talk offline and figure out how that's going to work out.
All righty. So what's your slogan you say all the time?
Hey, your words speak so loudly, can't hear a word you're saying.
Amen to that, brother. Joseph, you take care of yourself and we'll see you later.
All right now.
All right.